It's the second week of July and it's time for another garden update. Let's go ahead and start back behind the corn here. This little cucumber trellis that I have is really starting to produce well. These are Market More cucumbers. As you can see, there's quite a few cucumbers on. I just love these cucumbers. They're just a good looking cucumber. They taste good to us, and as you can see, they're pretty prolific. Just a good all-around cucumber. Market More 76 is my current favorite cucumber. The squash I have growing back here is trying to take over this end of the garden. A couple of experimental grafts down there. And this squash, by the way, is somewhat resistant to squash bugs and is pretty resistant to squash vine borers. And so far I haven't seen a single squash bug or a single egg, and I've been checking every once in a while. Of course, the minute I say that, they'll prove me wrong, but I'm really liking watching the squash grow without any bugs on it so far. And the corn, the grocery store popcorn, I don't know how well it'll turn out, but we've got quite a few ears developing on that. And it tasseled out first, and what I did was, once the glass gem popcorn started to tassel, I removed all the tassels from the popcorn so it wouldn't cross-pollinate the glass gem corn. And as you can see here, the glass gem corn's got lots of ears developing, and I just now noticed way up here is the squash vine trying to climb the corn, and I'm going to remove at least one of the squash vines if I can do it without tearing up the whole garden. But you can see over here it's gone wild on this side, and it's broken one of the ears off there. Not ears, but one of the tassels on that corn from climbing. So I'm going to have to carefully remove at least one vine. I planted too many because I just assumed that the squash vine borers would get to it, but so far they haven't. So, and in the grow bag, this grow bag is really kind of gone crazy. This is a determinate type of tomato, and it's grown really well, produced some tomatoes. The only problem with the tomatoes in the grow bag that I don't like is it seems like the skins are a little bit tough. I don't know if that's due to the type of tomato or being in the grow bag, but if you've ever grown Mountain Pride tomatoes, let me know how they did for you. Our onions are doing pretty well down here. Let me see, the eggplants, they're really growing well. This one down on the end, on the opposite end there, is over waist high now. I've never had eggplants that have gotten this tall, and I think part of it was early on they had just a little bit of yellowing in the leaves, so I gave them a little bit of high nitrogen fertilizer, and that really made them grow. Maybe a little bit too much. I've been topping those, but they're still getting taller. I have on this eggplant, probably be able to see the difference in the flowers. This is like a lavender color, and these are a little bit darker purple. This is a long purple grafted onto an Ichabod 2. So it won't be long, we'll have two different types of eggplants growing on that one. That ghost pepper is really going crazy. The Santa Fe Grande, it's really producing the peppers. It's very productive. And some of the other peppers are lagging behind, but They're starting to grow some. I've heard from quite a few people that are saying their peppers aren't doing as well this year as normal. The peppers, the ornamental peppers over here in the containers are doing very well. The petunias in that water cooler are doing well. The beans aren't setting on well, probably because of the heat. Cucumbers back on the fence. Let me just zoom in on some of the fruit there so you can see they're producing. That's about as cheap a trellis as you can get there, just strung up on some nails on the fence. We're getting lots of tomatoes. The Aunt Ruby's German Green has been real productive, and it produces some really big tomatoes. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched the taste test yet, we like them. But down here in the straw bales, they're doing great. I'm waiting on a red one so I can do a taste test on these peppers here. This is the Violet Sparkle. I've read from several reviews that the red version tastes much better, so that's what I'm waiting on there. The Odas. This one is loaded with peppers. Of course, that's the way they did for us last year. We really like them. They're a small pepper, but we like the taste of them, and they're kind of a unique looking pepper. And this long purple, I think I told you it was going to be loaded, and it is. It's got lots of eggplants on it now, and lots of blooms, so it's going to even have more. So I'll be harvesting some of those soon. It's just got eggplants all over it. And then the Matoya over here, it's just now starting to set on. It'll have some soon. Let's see, the tomatoes really producing, not so much at the tops. The tomatillos, it's just covered with developing tomatillos. This petunia in the hollow log is doing great. Sedum down there is doing pretty good. The sweet potato slips that I started down below the straw bales are starting to grow well. The tomatoes over in this straw bale are doing great. You can see there's some ripe ones in there. I've given away the ripe ones we picked so far, but I'll be doing a taste test on those soon. Let me lift this foliage up a little bit. You can see there's lots of green ones here. The zinnias over here. And then in this straw bale, these are the two eggplants that were very productive. I picked a lot of eggplants off of these two. And once I got done harvesting the ones that were on there, I went ahead and did a pretty severe pruning on it. And as you can see, the new growth has started. So I'm thinking we will get some more later on that one. Then the chocolate pear tomatoes, it's just pretty much a jungle back in here. I'm going to have to invest in a machete, I think. I can't even get to my trellis back there on the fence to get my cucumbers off of it, hardly. There's one huge sunflower head back there that's kind of really drooped over, and I'm going to have to measure that tallest. Let me see, that's a Velvet Queen. Had a brain freeze there for a second. The Velvet Queen, that one is over 10 feet tall because I measured the one next to it and it was almost 10 feet tall. So I'm guessing it's probably nearing 11 feet. They're just going like crazy, and seems like the ones down here closer to the grow bags are growing better, so I'm thinking that those are benefiting from the extra water that the grow bags get. But the potatoes in the grow bags are still, well, this one is still growing. This is the Yukon Gold, and the Kennebec is starting to die back a little bit, so I'm thinking I might harvest that in a week or two, maybe. We'll see. The canna flowers back here that I have here and there, they're starting to finally get above the grow bags where they can get some sun, and they're starting to really take off. And here's a look at the banana tree. It's well over waist high now, and if I lifted this up a little bit, it would be chest high on me. So it's really gaining size. And while we're talking about banana trees, here's one of the little pink bananas. It's just barely staying alive, but it's got a new leaf on it. I've noticed the black swallowtail butterflies have been really laying eggs on the dill back here, so we'll be having caterpillars soon to deal with. And the sweet potatoes are kind of trying to swallow up this part of the garden. There's some cotton. I topped the two tallest cottons, and we've got a continuing grasshopper problem back here. There's one over there too, so have to keep an eye on that. The okra back there is just now starting to get some size. Let's get back over there and take a look at that one big sunflower. These sunflowers with the big heads, they aren't getting that tall, but they sure are drawing the pollinators. And just, I'll back away and you can see that, get another look at that tall velvet queen. It's way up there. And then we're back here in the jungle part. Can't really see too much on the string trellis back here, but it's got plenty of cucumbers on it. That's something that we get more than we can use. Let's take a look at the tomatoes. The chocolate pear, it's probably about 7 feet tall and in a 5-foot cage, and it's sitting on above the cage. But we have finally a few of them that are showing color, so I'll be able to do a taste test on those soon. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be giving us lots of later tomatoes. And we have, by the way, this tomato was a cleft graft that I did onto a Ava purple ball. And it's hard to get to, but right back here we've got Ava purple ball growing. I let one sucker grow and it's got tomatoes on it, so we've got two types of tomatoes growing on one plant. And then this is another experimental side graft. It's also an Ava purple ball and it needs to be pruned, so I'm going to have to get on that. I got so many things I need to do. While I'm here, we've got a little pepper on the Chinese 5-colored pepper, and the first color they are is purple, so we've got 4 more colors to go. The ground cherries, they're still growing like crazy, and I'm quickly discovering I should have put these in a much larger container. They're well over 3 feet across now. They don't grow all that tall, but they just kind of really branch out. And it's loaded with ground cherries. And this is the goji berry over here. And we're going to get quite a few berries on it. It's got lots of blooms, quite a few berries already forming, and quite a few berries to go. I'm pleased with how it's doing so far. And like I have in other pots too, we've got a couple of little banana trees in that one. There's that experimental onion in a pot. There's our little petunia on the tomato. The hibiscus flowers are in bloom. These things are very large and they really attract the pollinators. The red hibiscus are also starting to bloom. These are a little smaller than those other ones, but they're still pretty good size. As you can see, they're going to have plenty of flowers. This thing should be covered with blooms. I topped it, and that's part of the reason it's going to have so many blooms on it. But it should be something to see in a week or so. Tall phlox is in bloom. I topped those a little bit. That kind of makes them produce a little bit more flowers. I forgot to mention the little petunia in the basket. It's about ready to go over the sides of the basket. The marigolds are starting to bloom. And this little sangria pepper, it's just covered with peppers. When they get some color, this thing's going to be really something to see. I was noticing we got a few long purples on this one out in the main garden too, so let's just get out here and take a look. As I've mentioned before, these things are really prolific. And it's got, well, it's got a couple there. Couple that could be picked right now. I didn't even know this one was down here, but it's got a whole bunch of blooms, a whole bunch of fruit already developing. It just if you want a lot of eggplants, it produces a lot. And kind of getting a break from the flea beetles. They aren't nearly as bad this year, so that's really good. I have some damage here, you can see, but I've had years where it just looks like somebody came out here with a shotgun and blasted them. Here's another one over here. This is Matoyo. And we've got one back here. This is a Rosita. It's got some pretty fruit on it, just starting. I'll just do an update on the eggplant soon. That's a quick look at what we have going on right now in the second week of July. Let me know how your garden's doing. If you're just now finding this channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Otherwise, like, comment, and share. We'll see you next time.